So I mentioned earlier on you can take a brush, all this paint up here is all wet. I can take some of that tone on my smaller brush and use it to introduce into this wet paint here to show some of the subtle little textural indentations in the bread. So once you get the foundation down like we have right now, it's just all about taking the various tonalities and moving them around. Grabbing paint from one spot and just moving it over to another. All right, let's experiment with some of the highlights on the jelly. So here we are close up. I can take my brush and just like I was saying, press down. In some cases you drag the little channel of paint around. Look at the subject. And it's better to understate than overstate with these highlights. It doesn't take much. You don't want to over. It's interesting how the bread here, the light hitting the bread is very similar to the value in light hitting the peanut butter. Maybe a little bit back here. And that is about it. Let's move on. A little bit right there. You want to hold the brush real lightly on your fingers and not press down. Just let it glide and bounce. It's just little slashes. When you look at them, you notice they're in different perspectives, different scales. There's one back here, just right into the paint. That's all there is to it. Okay, let's move on to the next little demo. So I'm basically just sketching into the foundation of what's underneath. And I've mentioned this in the past, you always want to go from general to specific, and what's general is what's up top. Now we're slowly beginning to get more specific. And it's like carving a block of stone. We're looking for the little indentations in the pie where we can cut down with this chiseled paintbrush. So I'm using a wedge-like stroke, and even down here I have some little accents. So we have a small amount right here. And I'm basically using somewhat of a dry brush technique, just allowing the brush to drag on the surface. Because remember, what's underneath is a little bit wet. So that warm is fusing with that cool. We have the foundation set up with the warm, dark, and light patterns here with the white fabric and the golden ochre cookies. Now, to push the illusion a little bit further, we're going to introduce some of the cool tonalities back in here. The back halves of the cookies where the warms merge into the cool shadows. So we'll have that warm-cool interaction start to take place. So right up against this edge, I'm looking down at the motif and I'm seeing some of this is a little bit higher key. I don't want to put white everywhere, just in a few key areas to accentuate. Like I'm noticing this part pops out and around. I'm able to sharpen up that edge a notch too. Okay, we're going to end with just a few shots of warmer points right along the edge here. I did this at one point, but obviously you've seen me go back and forth and look at relationships. I want to just bring out the warmth. By making these parts warmer, it makes these areas that are towards the back look cooler. Remember, everything's in relationships. I can take that, and I'm using somewhat of a drag approach where I'm taking the number 6 bristle and just dragging the warmer tonality across, which is pretty much orange with umber with a bit of white, similar to what we were using before. Then in a few cases there may be a few shots of warm right into the cookie, like little points of warm. As I squint, I look down, the light breaks over. Not many though. And that will be it.